I don't think there's anything else on the show notes. So the last thing we got to talk about is Dragon Ball Fighter Z. We both been playing a lot of that. I've put a lot of videos up on the channel and everything. So go check those out. What you've been thinking about the? So we kind of talked a little bit before all this started. Uh, for me personally, I think the online isn't as bad as maybe some people think it is. But I kind of want to know your impressions about like the story mode. We're not gonna give any like spoilers or anything like that.
I'd say the story mode is probably I. It's the best it's been because it's different. I want to say it's good because it's so different from the norm. It's so much more different from what we're used to by now. But I want to say like, oh, we gotta beat this guy. Look at the big bad coming back from the grave and trying to take over shit like in Xenoverse or at that time. There's no time shit involved. None of that. I kind of got, and probably because I hold this in such a high regard is because it's like it's a Sonic Adventure vibe and it's also a Budokai 2 vibe. Because you beat one story, you go to the next one. You beat that story, you go to the last one. It has that kind of thing to it, and I always like that. I actually did like that in Sonic Adventure 2. So,
And then it has like the board game aspect of.
Yes, I wish it could have done more with that.
A lot of people didn't like that, but I like that back in the day. The thing that this game doesn't do right as far as the story mode goes, because I will say this, I do like the writing in the story. I think this story is written a lot better than Xenoverse. Really, both of the Xenoverse stories. I really think the writing is really on point. It seems like Arc System works. They really understand and really love the characters in the world of Dragon Ball Z. It seems like they got everything down packed. The issue with the story, and you text me this, I think it was like yesterday or day before yesterday. The story mode does kind of drag along of the way. It's not even just the pacing of the story; it's just the fact that it felt like so. To give you some perspective, once you beat the story mode, once you beat like the individual story modes, because the story mode is kind of broken up into 3 different arcs. And there's 3 different arcs, and like for the first arc, it took me about 7 hours. And throughout the story mode, you're moving your character piece across like this map, and there's different enemies at different levels and everything. And you don't have to do every fight, but to grind and to level up your characters, you kind of I don't think you actually really necessarily need to grind and level up, because actually all the fights for the most part have been really laughably easy. Like
Told you.
I was just like sleepwalking. I was kind of sleepwalking through it to the point that I got careless one time, and like he was the only character that died. Other than that, I haven't really lost any characters. I haven't had any game overs or anything like that. Very simple. It's very easy. It feels like the RPG mechanics and stuff like the RPG mechanics. The have in there, you have skills that you unlock and everything that you fights and stuff. It feels like all of that is just kind of useless padding to kind of like pad the timeout and stuff. Like all these extra fights are just padding. It feels like almost that maybe they had a mandate. Mode needs to be long, so y'all gonna have to figure out a way to scratch it. I kind of felt like they could have just made it a linear story mode, like Injustice or Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. But I do kind of appreciate what they were kind of going for, because like I said, I like the Budokai 2 story mode, and I like the idea that they kind of did it like Sonic Adventure, like you said, like they split the different stories. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I just think it's a bit drawn out.
It drags.
Like I am seriously, I had to stop playing the game at certain points. It was just like I couldn't take more of it. I couldn't take any more of just going through the same kind of pointless fights. Even though we would get these, every now and again you would get these cutscenes that are really you can tell that they really understand Dragon Ball. They really understand these characters and the relationships between these different characters. They understand, and it seems like they watched like every episode of Dragon Ball Z. And I don't even mean Dragon Ball Z Kai. I mean original Dragon Ball Z with all the filler and everything. But there's a lot of references to a lot of the filler episodes.
Yeah.
A lot of different things that happened both in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Super, all that. So the story mode, as far as I'm concerned, better than Xenoverse 2. And better than Xenoverse 1, really. As far as like the writing and everything goes.
I only wish they could have implemented Trunks in there in some way, because he is just a clone of him running around, and I'm like, are we gonna mate up with him at some point? Like, no.
Yeah, that is true. Why is there a future Trunks clone, and there's no future Trunks in the story, unless there's a point in the story where that happens, and I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's random. I haven't, like, one thing I haven't run, like, I don't think I've ran into like a Teen Gohan clone though.
I don't think there is, and this isn't a spoiler.
Maybe that's just something that they kind of overlooked.
Yeah.
And I would say like another kind of negative for the game is sometimes the lip syncing can kind of be kind of off. For the most part in the story mode, it wasn't too bad for the story mode, but there are times like when you start a fight and they have like the intros and then the outros and stuff, where like you can tell like the lip syncing is a little off. And the reason why that is because, man, these people gotta let these Japanese subtitles go. It's because they have to do both dubs and subs. And I guess like when you first start the game up and everything, it's automatically set the subtitles. And I'm like, why is that the default now? Why do you just assume that people want to watch this, that people watch Dragon Ball in subtitle? I get that Dragon Ball Super is out now, and the most current stuff is in like Japan, is in subtitle, but
yeah,
this is Dragon Ball Z we're talking about. This is not Naruto. Like, Dragon Ball Z subtitle freaking sucks. It freaking sucks. I cannot stand listening to that. So I had to quickly turn that crap off. That was like one of the things I had to shut off right quick. But yeah, the lip syncing is kind of an issue. kind of an issue. It's not a big glaring issue, but it's something that's kind of noticeable.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that's kind of in a lot of anime games from like Namco Bandai. Because Naruto, the Storm series had that issue.
You're right.
I was really hoping that this game wouldn't have that issue though, because it does kind of bother you, and it does kind of like, at least for me personally, it kind of takes you out of it. Because when you're sitting up there watching the cutscenes, it almost feels like you're watching the show.
Yeah, I guess
it looks exactly like the.
It does, because like we talked about this before, and I even said like it feels like they just dumped the anime in a vat of video game acid, and it's like, oh, look at all that polish it made. It's just like the anime, but it just looks polished up.
Now, as far as the combat, and like I guess the general gameplay, what do you feel about that? Because for me, I think I've said this, and I think I've kind of addressed this on the channel. Obviously, there's the Xenoverse crowd that think that this game is kind of a step back in terms of, I guess, trying to imitate what you see like the anime and everything. There's some people that think it's kind of a step back because it is a 2D fighting game. But I think it's kind of a step up from obviously the arena brawlers like Raging Blast, Xenoverse, and Budokai Tenkaichi. But then at the same time, I always tell people you can't compare those different type of Dragon Ball fighting games. They're like two different beasts.
You can't. You're right.
So what you think about the combat overall?
I'd say it's more of a refined Mortal Kombat to me personally, because it's actually not Mortal Kombat. Okay,
I'm about to. I'm about to. I'm
wait a
about to
minute.
have to ask you about that Mortal Kombat.
Wait a minute. No. I
That's kind
got
of a
it backwards.
weird, a weird comparison.
No,
There.
no. I've been mulling over this anyway, and I can't believe I just said that came out of me. No, what I meant to say was
Mortal Kombat is a bit slower.
Yeah.
Slower.
Let me rephrase. It's like Budokai 2 and 3 on roids, on speedy roids to me. And what I mean by that is it's a good thing because I love the Budokai series. This isn't a bad thing whatsoever. It seems just more like a touched up Budokai to me, with easier access to their move sets and the rush and the counters and whatnot. I like the combat system, to be honest.
I mean, honestly, Budokai, the Budokai series, I like the inputs and everything. It wasn't as hard. I don't think it's like I think. Okay, so I'm under the assumption that that when you were saying that the inputs, like, do you think the inputs were harder in Budokai to pull off?
No.
Okay, I was just wondering. But for me, I would say that it's a less complex. You remember the game Super DragonBallZ?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be like really like Street Fighter, kind of like a Street Fighter with like Dragon Ball Z skin, like a Dragon Ball Z clone of Street Fighter. This feels like it kind of feels like a dumbed down version of that, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, well, I guess dumbed down is kind of like the wrong term to use. It's more of a streamlined version of that almost, because that's what it kind of feels like. It's very streamlined. And one thing about this game, because even my brother's playing it, I think I told you this before. My one of my friends that I also went to high school with is playing the game. We know a lot of people that are playing the game now, so it's getting a lot of people who aren't, and these people aren't like big traditional fighting game people. These are like casuals. It's getting a lot of casuals into it's getting casuals into a fighting game.
Yeah.
It's a big thing because that's kind of hard for people, like, pick up a fighting game, because it's so intimidating, because you have all these different inputs for all these different characters. And one of the issues, like Injustice 2 came out last year, for example. Me and my brother, we got the game and everything, and my brother was just having an issue with, because he was enjoying the game, but he's just having an issue trying to memorize all these different inputs for all these different characters, because all the inputs for like different attacks and stuff, it's not uniform. It's not a uniform input. It's not all the same. It's quite different between all the different characters in like Injustice and then like Street Fighter, stuff like that. But then he goes and plays Fighter Z, and he feels right at home just mashing the square button or mashing the triangle button to pull out a combo. And a lot of people might have an issue with like the auto combo system, especially like if you were already an experienced fighting game fan, you might have an issue with the auto combo system. But honestly, I feel like it's a necessary evil, and it also, I don't think it takes anything away from the game. However, it does get kind of annoying. It does get kind of annoying seeing people kind of rely too much on it. But I don't think it takes as much damage as like a made up combo or what they call a manual combo would do. Like it still takes skill to beat somebody in this game. It really does. It's not. A lot of people think, and I apologize if I'm talking a little bit too much, but it feels like a lot of people think that this game doesn't have depth simply because it doesn't have all these complex inputs and stuff. Like, you don't have to work your controller like it's a musical instrument, man. Like, you shouldn't really like this game. I feel like Fighter Z, it addresses an issue that it addresses a problem that I think a lot of fighting games have. It addresses that whole skill gap. Well, not just a skill gap, but like how do you say it? It kind of addresses that barrier of entry where you can give me the controller, like you can pass me a controller and tell me go play Street Fighter, go play Tekken. I'm gonna just be mashing buttons because I'm not gonna be able to really grasp all these other nuances and everything, and all these different combos and all these different characters move lists and stuff. Whereas you can take anybody off the street and tell them go play Dragonball Fighterz, and they'll be able to really pull off some really cool looking stuff. And a lot of people just want to go ahead, pick up the game, and pull off a Kamehameha and then just quickly do it. And they have some of the traditional fighting game motions, like the quarter what do they call it? Quarter circle motion, like the Hadoken motion, and that's all you really need to know how to do. And I like that. It's very streamlined, and I think that's a big thing for this game. But as far as the gameplay goes, because I know I'm just talking about the accessibility of the game, which is a very big strong point about the game.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the gameplay goes, it is exactly what you would think a DragonBallZ game would be, for a 2D fighter. I don't understand why a lot of people in the online community, as far as like these DragonBallZ games, because I'm constantly seeing people at like GameFAQs, at Game FAQs, and all these different sites complaining about the fact that it doesn't feel like DragonBallZ. It feels too similar. It's not what a DragonBallZ fight, like all these fights that you can have in this game, it doesn't, just because you're not moving around in like a 360 environment like a Radiant Blast and Xenoverse and everything, but it really works. Everything really works. The Super Dash, the Dragon Rush, all these different mechanics, they work. The only issue I have with the gameplay is that being defensive. You took the words right out of my mouth. It sucks. Being defensive in this game sucks, and I think the issue, because I was listening, and I'm not going to give myself credit for this, because I was listening to Gaming Illuminati podcast last night, because I told you I couldn't sleep.
I know, insomniac over here.
Yeah, so I was listening to the podcast, and one of the dudes up there, he was like, yo, the problem with this game is because it's playing defense in this game is so horrible, man. It's horrible. And the reason why it's so bad is because, and the first thing that everybody wanted to compare this game to, including myself, was Marvel vs. Capcom. This is Marvel vs. Capcom. This is the Marvel vs. Capcom 4 that we should have gotten last year. The only thing that this game does not do, I think it definitely needs an advancing guard. You know what an advancing guard is?
Go ahead, explain that.
There's you play Marvel vs. Capcom, but you probably never used it. So basically what it is, an advancing guard.
3.
You played the third one? Oh yeah, that's
I
what.
played
I
played the third one, but that was like years ago, dude.
Yeah, well, it was in that game too. I think it's in like all the Marvel vs. Capcom games. What it is like when your opponent hits you, you press two buttons, and when you're guarding, it'll like push the enemy back.
Oh,
and we need something like that. We need something like that desperately in this game, because people love to get you in that corner, right? To get you in that corner, and you can't do not anything. The only thing you can really do, and this is what I hate to do it because it's so abusable, but I like to teleport out the way. But that's the only thing you can really do. You don't have any advancing guard to kind of like push the enemy back. That's the only issue. Because the rushdown game, if you get somebody who really knows how to rush you down, and you don't know really how to defend against them, you're gonna have a hard time. Like I think that's the only flaw to like the gameplay from like my perspective. Because like the other issues I hear people having with this game is no transformations and all this other crap, which is kind of stupid. Like, I don't think people understand that if they were to have like all these different transformations, it's gonna make the game unbalanced. And we're talking about a more traditional fighter. We're not talking about something like Xenoverse, which is just supposed to be really fanfare, really fan servicey, and really an arena brawler. Like this is supposed to be something that Arc System Works is trying to make into a really competitive fighting game, and I'm pretty sure this game is gonna show up at like these competitive fighting game events. So they can't have
it's already happening.
Can't have Goku with like 100 transformations, man, because that would be too OP.
Technically they're wrong. They already got a transformation. It's called Golden Frieza, and Frieza has that, and it's a move you can do. So shut up. So shut up, losers.
And someone else was complaining about like there's no fusions in the game or whatever. Well, they do have Gotenks, but I guess they're complaining because like Vegito isn't in the game. I'm not a big fan of Vegito, so Vegito can stay out. Unless it's Gogeta. Gogeta can come in.
Vegito's OP as shit.
Why does Gogeta get like no love? I mean, I know Gogeta, people say he's not canon, but he's honestly better than Vegito to me.
Especially since he never bullshitted around with Janemba. That's another thing what I liked about him. And it's like, when are we ever gonna see these two fusion dance ever again? Like, it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen.
Honestly, against this fight with like, see, I don't know where they're at, like in like Dragon Ball Super and everything, and not to kind of get off topic, but in Dragon Ball Super, like if they're still fighting Jiren, if they're still fighting the brick wall known as Jiren, why don't they just do the fusion dance? I mean, I know that at this point in Dragon Ball Super and everything, Vegeta is like, I don't think he would even help. Matter of fact, I don't even think Vegeta would even want to do something like that, because he didn't even want to help. He didn't even want to help Goku out when he was trying to do the Spirit Bomb. He was like, "I'm not helping you, Kakarot." He said something like that. So yeah, I don't think, but that would be kind of cool if they need to really reintroduce that in Dragon Ball Super. But that's kind of getting off topic. But you have anything else to kind of say about Dragon Ball Fighterz?
Especially since like the Bataras now have a fucking countdown on it, so it's like just do the fusion dance from now on. Doesn't matter now. I mean, you pretty much made this a second fusion without them dancing. Just saying. But as far as this goes, nah. I'll save that for later. Other than that, what I was gonna say, Dragon Ball Fighterz is that Dragon Ball game that I've been waiting to play for years, ever since I don't want to say since Budokai 3, because I would be lying if I said like there wasn't some good in-betweens there, but
yeah, Burst Limit.
Yeah, Burst Limit does not get enough credit. It really doesn't. But it is really, really fun. It is really, really fun, and I wish that besides the characters that we had, that I wish there were more characters, DLC, and really it deserves all the accolades that it's gotten and it continues to get. So all you Xenoverse losers who keep saying, "Oh, where's the Xenoverse stream, man? Where's the Xenoverse stream, man? Where's the Xenoverse stream, man?" Shut up. Do you see the success that this has had? There's more of a chance of a Fighterz 2 happening than it ever gonna be a Xenoverse 3. So you can just X that out of your heads right now. Xenoverse sucks. Xenoverse fucking blows. But one thing, Namco Bandai, you're still keeping it alive with updates. So that's something for the people who don't want to get transition over to Fighterz. That's something, I guess, but it's not Fighterz. So
yeah, like that's the thing. People are asking for Xenoverse 3, but yet you're still steadily getting
content.
I think isn't it all for free though?
Yeah, I think
it's all free. So I don't see why people are still complaining.
It is just Xenoverse 3. Regardless, like Fighterz is that Dragon Ball game of now. Okay, get it if you haven't played it. It deserves all the praise. I'm done.